morning. Welcome to Healing Light Fellowship Church. We are a spiritual church practicing and teaching spiritual principles and striving to comply with the universal laws, which are the laws of God. So here we are in February. The good news is we're halfway through winter. The bad news is we're halfway through winter. February has been designated as the month of love. On the 14th, we celebrate affection for a significant other with flowers, candy, cards, expensive restaurants. So for those of you that weren't aware it was coming up that fast, you're welcome. It's estimated that over $24 billion, yes, I said billions with a B, will be spent this year on Valentine's Day. Contrary to popular belief, Valentine's Day was not invented by Hallmark, Fannie Mae, Whitman Chocolates, or 1-800-Flowers. Nor does it have anything to do with a chunky naked toddler carrying a bow and arrow. Valentine's Day, believe it or not, is not celebrated worldwide. In fact, in several countries, it's actually banned. In one country, there were 5 men that were sentenced to a total of 39 years and received 4,500 lashes between them for celebrating Valentine's Day. In another country, 80 couples were arrested and convicted for celebrating. So for those of you that are not familiar, I'd like to give you a little kind of brief story about how Valentine's Day even got started. It actually began in Roman times. There was a priest named Father Valentine. There was a Roman emperor who was named Claudius. Father Valentine was not fond of Claudius, and Claudius was not fond of Christians and was known to persecute them. Claudius wanted a big army and thought men should volunteer to join. Problem was, most men didn't want to leave their wives, girlfriends, significant others to volunteer to join. Well, this made Claudius angry. He actually had a nickname of Claudius the Cruel. So what he did was he passed a law prohibiting marriage. Well, Valentine thought that this new law was cruel, so he began to marry people secretly. So he would whisper the vows so that nobody could hear him other than the people he was marrying. One night while he was performing a ceremony, they heard footsteps in front of the church. The couple he was marrying managed to escape, but Father Valentine was caught and imprisoned. Being that many people liked him, they would come to the prison and they would throw notes and flowers at his window. He was befriended by the daughter of one of the prison guards, and the prison guard allowed his daughter to visit. They would spend many hours talking in his cell. Claudius had sentenced him to actually a triple execution. I'm not going to go into the gory details of it. But on the day of his execution, he left a note thanking her for her friendship and signed it, "Love from your Valentine." Notes started becoming a custom and exchanged on February 14th. Now, every year, people remember, and more importantly, think about love and friendship. He was made a saint in approximately 496. So I have a little story I want to tell you before we get going here. You knew that was coming, right? So there was an elderly couple, and after their day of celebrating Valentine's Day, they were sitting on the couch watching TV. The wife said to the husband, you know, things have really changed between us. You used to sit next to me all the time. Well, the elderly man said, I could take care of that. So he went over, sat next to her on the couch. A couple minutes later, she said, you know, you used to put your arms around me and hold me tight. He said, well, I could fix that. So he gave her a big hug and he sat there with his arm around her. A couple minutes later, she said, you remember when you used to nibble on my earlobe and kiss my neck? Well, he suddenly got off the couch and started bolting out of the room. And she said, where are you going? He said, I'll be back in a minute. I've got to go get my teeth. See, I'm not laughing at that because that's going to be me in another 10 years. While it's a funny story, it actually points out to a problem that many of us have. And that is that we become complacent with the ones we're supposed to love. I see heads nodding already. Absolutely. Okay? When someone is a part of your life, whether it's a partner, friend, parent, child, it's way too easy to become complacent and take the relationship for granted. Why? We get wrapped up in everyday life. School, home, work, and we neglect to show the ones who support us the love and affection they deserve. When your time is limited, prioritize those you love first. When you answer someone, do it without arguing. Once you yell, you've opened the door to an unpleasant interaction. James chapter 1, verse 19. So, my brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. You can be assertive without getting into a confrontation or a conflict. This is something that is really important to me, and my wife will tell you that I have drilled this into my children. When you tell somebody you're going to do something, you keep your promise. And do it. I've said this before. You may not have a dime to your name. You may not have one material possession. But you have your word. And your word should be gold. Nobody likes it when someone doesn't live up to their word. So don't make promises you can't keep or have no intention of following through with. Personally, I'm one of these people that don't like asking for help. And when somebody says they're going to help me and they don't show up, that's a pretty terrible feeling. It's also a good way to lose friends. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 5. It is better to say nothing than to make a promise and not keep it. Unavoidable things happen, and they'll come up on occasion, throw a wrench in your plans. Life happens. Everybody understands that. This works the other way too. When somebody asks you for help, take it as an opportunity to be helpful and to show your love and not as an inconvenience. It's important that we learn to be good listeners. Everyone, your spouse, your partner, your friend, your child, needs and wants to be heard. When you interrupt them or roll your eyes, it's demeaning, It's certainly not loving, and it's not very spiritual. Whoever keeps his mouth shut and his tongue keeps himself out of trouble. When I was in sales years ago, they used to teach us something called the hinge. I call it the bobblehead. Okay? And the bobblehead is simply this. When somebody is talking to you, you're acknowledging. You hear them. They feel heard. They feel important. So feel free to use the bobblehead. Learn to make compromises. Sorry to tell you, folks, everything is not always about you. Did I hear a sigh out of somebody? Probably. When you learn to make concessions, you show the other person that you care more about them and their opinion than you do about being right. So, ladies, close your ears. Guys, remember, happy wife, happy life? Remember that? Yeah, you gotta use that. Did you know the most frequent reasons for relationships ending is we never did anything together, and he or she never showed any interest in what I'm doing or what I'm saying? Love is a priceless commodity, but don't expect the other person to know you love them just because you think you're showing them by their actions. People need to hear it. Sometimes people don't show love because they think it's a sign of weakness rather than a sign of strength. So remember the law of attraction. Like begets like. Anger begets anger. Love begets love. All right, this is all great. We've talked a lot about people we love. What about the people we don't like? Or the people that have done us wrong? Well, no question, this is certainly more challenging, and even I have to work on this. It doesn't matter whether you're a Christian or not. It's about being a better person and becoming more spiritual. A universal problem that we have as humans is the hatred we feel for other people and people that have wronged us. In the end, we are all fellow human beings, and we have to coexist with each other. So I want you to ask yourself, is there someone in your life you just really can't stand? Someone who just irritates you to no end? Somebody you're angry and bitter towards? I'm sure we can all find somebody in our life that's like that without straining real hard. So the question is, does that feeling make you happy? And if it doesn't, why do you keep doing it? I'm sure we can at least find one person, maybe several. Reality is, it doesn't serve you. God commands it, and Jesus taught it, that we are supposed to love our enemies. So who are our enemies? We're not talking about international terrorists here. They're the people close to us that we're having difficulty with. They're the people in our circle that we come in contact with. Every week, we may work go to school, be around people who don't like us. We may even come here and see people we'd rather not deal with. It happens, even though it's church. Can't help it. Remember what Dr. Wayne Dyer told you. It's none of my business what other people think of me. We were put here to love every single person Spirit has put in our path. And it means we are supposed to unconditionally contribute to the good of others and show patience and kindness. Sounds good on paper, doesn't it? A little harder to put into practice. Make no friendship with the angry man, and the furious man do not go. Well, what exactly does that mean? Well, it means exactly what it says. Don't walk with them. Don't hang out with them. Okay, some of you are thinking, okay, wait a minute, back up. Didn't you just say we got to love everybody? I did. But it doesn't mean we have to hang out with them. Doesn't mean we have to have dinner with them. Doesn't mean we have to go to a movie with them. Sometimes there are people in your life we need to pull away from, because it's important that we protect our energy. So these people, we're going to send them love from a distance. There is nothing that says we have to be around toxic people or people who don't treat us right. There are people we can walk through life with, people we can't. It's just that simple. So it's perfectly acceptable for you to be prudent who your friends are and who you let into your life. This is certainly more difficult when it comes to your family. As the saying goes, and here I'm going to get in trouble here. You can pick your friends, you can pick your nose, but you're stuck with your family. So I want you to treat every day like it's Valentine's Day. Spread a little love. You'll be a happier, more spiritual person, and you will set an example for others. So in closing, I want you to remember the words of 4 wise men named John, Paul, George, and Ringo. All you need is love. Love is all you need. Thank you. God bless you. Have an amazing rest of your day.